Welcome, one and all to the North America Challengers League, day number 2 of our spring split. I am Mazel, I'm joined by Cubby, and I could not be more excited to kick off some best of threes in the Fearless format today. Are you excited, Cubby?
It's good to be back, man. And Challengers came back with a vengeance yesterday, as already saw some upsets coming in. Wild card with a big 2-0 over Team Liquid Challengers. I don't think anyone had that on their bingo card to start off the league, and curious to see if we get more upsets today.
Yeah, Joshi said it could be the biggest upset we see all season. It is single round robin, so when you make damage done, it's done permanently. It's very exciting. We started off very strongly yesterday, but we also have some very strong performances lined up today, I feel like. We have some banger matchups ahead of us. We also get to see a lot of changes in would-be legendary rosters, it feels like. So we're going to take a look at the schedule now and take a look at what we have in store. We have Fear versus Mirage Alliance, a swap-a-rooney of rosters there. It's going to be a little bit of fun. And then we're finishing off the day with Area of Effect versus Maryville University.
Yeah, kind of wild. We had both Mirage Alliance and Maryville make roster changes for this week coming in. And frankly, I'm really excited for this first match, Mazel. Fear versus Mirage Alliance. Of course, Mirage Alliance, they promoted from Summer, so it's their first game in Challengers League, so welcome officially. But this is a roster that has a lot of players that have been so familiar with Challengers League. They actually played in the Challengers series back when you could promote to LCS, looking at Lorem in the top lane, Dardoch too, competed in some of those. I mean, these are legacy names of the old guard going up against some brand new faces that we have for Cincinnati Fear that, frankly, I'm pretty excited for.
And speaking of those brand new faces, while we don't have the pictures, we do have some wonderful faces on this team. It is Cincinnati Fear who have changed their roster. We have Alorum in the top lane.
Hold on. It's Philip in the top lane. And we got Chad, Toasty,
It is a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, Alorum's on the other side. Yeah, you know.
So we actually are going to have, I have it right here. We have Philip in the top lane. We got Chad in jungle. We got Toasty Alex in mid lane. We got Linz in bot lane and Davshin in support. A lot of names that people are going to know pretty well, but for the first time kind of coming together, and especially excited about Toasty Alex.
Yeah, Toasty is someone that we saw really be on the come up this offseason, participating in a lot of combines and doing well. I actually got to sit down with Toasty. I talked to him for about 15 minutes. We'll chop some of that down and show you guys here later on the broadcast. But the full video's up. I sat down with Toasty and Sajed on my YouTube at CubbyXX. And honestly, it was really fun talking with him because this guy is like a pure gamer. He originally wanted to be a Valorant pro. He's still immortal in Valorant and has been since like Split 2. But then he started playing League. He couldn't play in VCT because their age limit's actually higher than League. And so between that and kind of falling in love with League, he's been playing more and more. He's improved a lot. He was actually at one point on an OQ team with Alorum, Team Fish Taco. That team did not do well, but Toasty's gotten a lot better since then. And I'm really excited to see him make his debut in Challengers League today.
He's keeping the mechanics tight, but also we got to see him in the off season in a ton of the combines, and my goodness, that man popped off. But that is where we also got to get excited for the other side of the matchup, because it is our entry from the promotional tournament. We have Mirage Alliance, and while the roster might look a little different even from just a couple days ago, it should be a lot of fun to see exactly how this roster is going to kind of pan out with the pieces they do have now in the positions that they're in now.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. You know, I was talking with Prismal a little bit in the offseason. He's like, you know, I don't know if I should play AD or support. And like, we have Dardoch that's going to be on the team, but we don't really know if he's going to play jungle or support. And yeah, you know, they kind of took advantage with those swaps as they had a late roster change. Will is coming in, a fresh face that we've seen compete in Challengers League and do really well. I mean, it's NA jungle talent, man. That role is just freaking stacked. Will is one of the many players that's really good in that role, so excited to have him back in the league. Yeah. But that shifted Prismal from support to AD and Dardoch from jungle to support. So they're in the bot lane now together.
And what the craziest part is the one that helped them get to this point was Chad on the other side in the jungle position. So it's going to be a ton of fun. I think this is going to be a very big matchup for the players individually, right? We did talk about it single round robin. I'm very interested how that pressure kind of affects the teams and the players themselves, but also a big reminder that we are in Fearless Draft here, and there are some players on these sides that maybe have some particular champions that are very good. I want to see if those kind of one tricks get through, if we do have that kind of variability because of the Fearless Draft, where if if you pick a champion, you cannot pick it in a preceding game.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Quacker's Darius show up and go ham in game 1 yesterday. Of course, that's a strategy that some teams are really talking about. Like, hey, Alorum, we might let him have Urgot earlier on in the series so that he can't play it again. And then he's mostly forced on tanks, right? But it was curious. I was going over the games on my stream yesterday, and it's funny. Like, I saw Vi plus Nautilus picked by FlyQuest, and I was like, man, like in game 2, what if you just pick Zeri? Like, there's no point-and-click lockdown. Like, I'm wondering, like, if you see Vi and Nautilus, like, not picked at the same time so that teams can find access to, like, 2 point-and-click lockdown ultimates. I'm really curious to see how, like, the meta game around Fearless Drafts evolves. We really only had game 2s yesterday, so I think once we get to game 3s, we'll see it have a bigger impact, but excited to hop in the draft for this game 1 here shortly.
Yeah, we unfortunately didn't have the roster graphic for Mirage Alliance. I do want to go over the players really quickly. It is Alorum in the top side, Will in the jungle, RJS in mid, Prismal in the bot lane, and Dardoch as support. We're going to be getting in draft now, and I cannot wait to see what we get. Now, big question for me is, does Rengar come in priority for Chad? We'll see that very early on, but here we go, kicking off game 1. And it's going to be a banger, I'm sure. We already get the Callista ban. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of likely bans. I know you've been watching a lot of Champs Q. Do you have any thoughts on the continuation of the ban meta that we saw yesterday on day 1?
I mean, I don't want to leak anything on stream, but I think it's kind of fun if I do. We're
actually... That's kind of what we're here for.
I mean, we're going to have more Champs Q being played. They're going to have Champs Q kind of be like a PBE like patch in the future moving forward. So there might even be Champs Q games tonight. So who knows? Maybe we don't want game 3s, Mazel. We'll just wrap this up and we'll go watch some CQ after.
Right there. I'll stop you right there. This is my first day on ACL. I want 6 games all day long. All right, that's all I'm saying. We got the Melio ban here for Fear on the blue side. We also got that Rumble and the Ashe ban from Mirage Alliance on the red side.
Yeah, so, I mean, usual suspects on the ban list so far. Somewhat surprised to see the Xin taken away. I'm curious if Fear wants to blind a jungler that maybe Xin is strong into. But I will say that, like, some of the picks, it's weird. It feels like in the early season, we have seen a lot of teams have different approaches to what they want to B1. We've seen Milio be a popular B1. We've even seen Corki Azir being traded early in the draft, which I know a lot of people are disgusted by. Senna is really strong, can be played in multiple positions. Of course, Seraphine taken away already from Mirage Alliance, but Cincinnati Fear, they want that Senna in itself, and we'll be giving up 2 pretty strong power picks in Azir and Varus in return.
I am so interested in the just prevalence of Azir now as well. I'm kind of sad we're getting back to the Azir Corki metas, but maybe not for very long. It is the Varus, though, locked in alongside of the Azir, and I feel like that first and foremost, the duo gives you a ton of utility, but you're going to have so much damage on the back end, especially depending on the build the Varus is going to be going.
So for Azir, like, mid lane, the map changed, right? We're playing on a different map. Yeah. So the mid lane brushes are actually further away from the center of the lane. So Azir was already really difficult to gank. He's pretty much impossible to gank now. And also Azir, it's back to, like, if you played a release Azir in Season 5, which, not to brag, but there's a clip of me solo killing Pobelter on that champ around. Anyway, it really is the old build, right? It's the W max into rush Nashers into... you can go from wherever from there, right? But that does make Azir really powerful. Where I don't think he really wants the chapter items. Nasher, it makes him such a menace in those fights once he picks that item up, and he deals so much damage if you're in the range to interact with him. I really like the pairing with Varus, and Cincinnati Fear, they have a lot of aggression early with Senna, Kench, and now a Poppy locked in. That's going to be a quick Trundle response.
Let's go!
For Mirage Alliance, important to note, this is a flex with Alorum, who is willing to play a top.
I love the pick into this trio that's already drafted from Fear. You got a lot of tanks, especially the Poppy can be so menacing, the Tom Kench so menacing. The Trundle's going to cut that in half. Now, you do got to thank Fear. We knew them last year. Now we got different rosters now. But we knew them last year for kind of, teamwork, togetherness, but also they typically went with a lot of scaling compositions too, because they were playing like the Seraphines, things like that. I wonder if that's going to still be a style they go for in 2024. We are in the second phase of bans. We do get that Corki band away, so no easy matchups in the mid lane.
I mean, I think it is worth noting, like, Cincinnati Fear was one of the best stories we had in Challengers League last year. This was a brand new org, grassroots. They came up with 5 players that were pretty much fresh faces. Like, they had a few people like Perry, subbed in for Dignitas, like he was familiar, but mostly guys that, haven't competed in Challengers League, especially in that spring. They went very far in spring. They were able to do it again in summer with Philip and JJ coming in as
The anime
Faisal.
arc.
Yeah, Faisal and him like kind of switched spots, and then of course, Trevor ended up not returning, went somewhere else. So for Fear, it's like, can we find a third split in a row of keeping that performance, those expectations? Because we had no expectations for this org coming in, but we do now. And honestly, a lot of props go to the staff who, for the most part, did stick around with Cincy Fear. So we'll see if they can do it again with this new batch of players.
It's about building a fandom and a community even here at the tier 2 level, and I will say they've gotten a ton of fans for the first and foremost content stuff they were putting out last year, but also just their run. Now we are finished with the second phase of bans. We had the Cassante added on to the Corki for Mirage Alliance. It was the Blitzcrank and the Urgot there for Fear as the bans. It was instantly the Rel for Mirage Alliance, and now we're waiting for the last 2 picks for Fear.
The Rel brings some power here. Of course, Poppy can shut down that engage, but taking the Tom Kent shield off of him, really valuable here if you are Mirage Alliance. So we'll see what ends up, rounding out this comp for Fear. Not surprised to see Philip on the Aatrox, mostly plays those aggressive top laners. And I will say that Akali, it will give Fear the ability to try and answer Mirage Alliance in the side lane. I don't want to see Fear take a straight-up 5v5. I think they have to take advantage of their early laning prowess and then find picks and pick on that Azir in the side lane in the mid game. Because if you team fight against an Azir, Varus, especially with Trundle taking stats away from tanks, I don't like that look, as it looks like we're rounding things out with the Udyr. So the fire circle's in the top side.
Fear the deer, baby. Fear the deer. And it's
Circle
Alorm that's going to be walking it too. Yeah, fear the circles. Fear the Venn diagrams. The other thing I think Rel does provide here, and it's something that's subtly becoming more talked about, is like the shield breaking quality on the grubbies. I think it's actually so ridiculous if the Rel, a little bit of a timer there on a roam can actually have such a big value if that does come up to it. But now I do want to set the stakes here a little bit. We talked a little bit about the 5v5, but I want to hone in on how Mirage Alliance can kind of crack that.
For them, I don't love Udyr as a pick. I think that in order for Udyr to be effective, you actually have to build some form of damage. But I will say, as a straight tank this game, I do like him. Akali, Poppy, and Aatrox kind of have to go in. If Udyr is able to get through that and just hit people, there is a lot of damage over time for Fear. But if this forces Senna, if Senna's going the Thauti build, Udyr is just going to be invincible this game.
Yeah.
So I think for Mirage Alliance, just making sure that they are surviving that early game. Of course, the jungler for Fear, it is Chad, and Chad loves his early game aggression. So we'll have to be on the lookout for what Chad decides to try early on, as that will really be what gets Fear into the earlier stages of the game. And Fear, they got to play fast in this one if they want to win.
Well, Cubby, we find ourselves here again. We are on Summoner's Rift for day 2 of the NACL Spring Split. It's Fear versus Mirage Alliance, and what we talked about at the beginning of the show was the swapperoonies a little bit of these rosters. And I find it really interesting that both teams, obviously Mirage Alliance making it through the promotion tournament, but you talked about Fear having such a legacy from last year. It is so cool to see these transitions of players and kind of the different feels both of them have now.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Just looking at these two rosters, Will is truly the only person that has only played in Academy and Challengers in the back half, right? Again, Alorm, he was trying to promote into the LCS through Challengers Series, and is a name that has been around for a long time. Prisma, he won Academy, I believe, back in 2019. Dardoch, most people know him from his time in Team Liquid. RJS, most people know him from his time with BBQ, and then, of course, tried to make it as a pro here with CLG. These guys are storied players, and it's going to be interesting to see how that story can maybe be built now for Fear. I'm going to try and go into them.
I like this.
Might
a
have
little bit
contest.
of early. I think you do.
This?
Chad wants fisticuffs. Anytime, any day of the week, you approach Chad, he will want to fight you for it. Alorm getting the better of Philip early. Now Chad will make his way in.
Oh, no.
He doesn't get the blue buff, rather, and Will is just going to be chomping away. The slow comes down, the flash, and thumbs up, letting Chad know he's still there.
That's a terrible start here for Fear, because we were sitting here talking about how important this early game is, taking advantage of some of their laning that they have. Akali, this lane's pretty free for her. You look at top side, Philip will get shoved in by the Udyr, but Aatrox still a strong laner. Senecan should be more than fine in the bot side, and your jungler is starting out this far behind him. Will is going to have 2 camps to his name before Chad has 1. Chad even burns Smite to try and pick that up. This is a disastrous start for Cincy Fear.
It is very rough, but that is the big highlight we wanted to have coming into this, is how are these new mid-jungle duos going to be working, right? Will coming in for Mirage Alliance, trying to pair up with RJS, but Chad with Toasty, an up-and-coming mid laner who has had big impactful moments, with a very aggressive jungler. And I think that's where I want to hone in a little bit more on Chad, yes, being behind, but he is still known to be one of those gritty players. That's why he finds himself back in an ACL again once time goal.
Yeah, Chad is someone where if you want a team with Chad, you will have direction, right? He gives you a lot of direction in the game, oftentimes to play through and around his timers. But speaking of timers right now, it's Toasty who's going to be under siege with a nice timer coming in from Will and Dardoch mid.
I think Mirage Alliance know exactly where to focus, and it is the up-and-coming mid laner for Fear. He is just going to be taken out here. He's invisible, got the flash out too, but it's the chomp flash, and first blood goes over to Mirage Alliance.
Look at that lane. RJS had this thing pulled, so Toasty losing even more off that play. Is RJS able to easily farm this up as the Azir, and everything is going the way of Mirage Alliance early.
If that continues to be the case, I think Will having strength out on the map is such a big one. I think obviously the Trundle into these picks is already baseline pretty good, but Will himself has been a strong jungler in the past, right? We saw him with AoE, and he was last year one of the primary carries, it felt like, for AoE. There were so many games where this man had like 8 kills and no deaths, and it was insane, but he needs to kind of rein that in with the team, and now another team is coming to try to rein him in.
Yeah, so off that timer, RJS base to match Toasty, who did TP back, and we have an invade going on in the meanwhile. Action top side of Alorum.
You gotta fear the deer, baby! Alorum has arrived! Gets a solo bolo on the Phillip.
Invade successful here for Chad as he is able to deny the camp away from Will. That's kind of nice. Toasty also going to take a positive trade. So Chad and Toasty at least trying to cash in on some of their early power. Of course, Poppy and Akali can pack a lot of a punch, but Trundle and Will doing a nice job of hovering. You kind of teased it, Mazel. You know, we had a lot of pop-off games from Will, but sometimes games where Will, wasn't quite with his team at the right time, or not as good at being, more of that cerebral jungle that can really help out his lanes. And I'd like to see Will hovering RJS and making sure that this is here, getting his farm safely early.
That is probably the most important aspect here. This Will continuing to focus on mid lane consistently now, knowing that Toasty can be a big pop-up player, and I like that focus. And we talked so much about how this mid lane is going to affect the rest of the map.
Yeah, this matchup, we've seen a lot of Akali Azir, and it really is about just attacking Azir in the side lane. Akali needs to get ahead to be able to do that later, so I think Mirage Alliance doing a nice job of putting a lot of pressure on Toasty mid so that he doesn't really get that free laning phase that you do get as Akali with the fleet, the second wind, the D-shield in this lane. So I like the approach from Mirage Alliance, and it even goes back to that level 1 design. I mean, it made it so much easier for Will to be here first, and they're continuing the pressure here.
Gets the flash after Toasty. Oh no! He goes back in and he dies under Terror. Gets the trade back on a Dardoch, and that's worth.
I mean, Toasty gets something, but it still is, a wave lost. The kill still goes over to that Azir, so I really like the direction that Mirage Alliance has in this game still, Mazel. I feel like they're playing towards their win cons nicely, and I mean, I talked with Alorum earlier in the week, kind of on his stream. He's like, hey man, he's like, if I'm gonna keep on playing in challengers, like, these guys do have to beat me. Like, this guy is a smart player. These guys are smart players. There's a reason why they've been able to do things in the league scene, previously. And it's really good to see them cashing in with this as they're just doing a better job of playing towards their win con. They're doing what's good for them, denying fear theirs.
And I did want to talk a little bit more about that mid lane too. In terms of this, season 14, it is really interesting because last year it was all about trading your health bar as Akali early to try to get a little bit of minion farm early on, but it actually seemed like Toasty had a pretty big advantage early, and now with all the help from Will, RJS has wrested control.
Yeah, and I mean, once Azir gets going, like, again, Azir, it's like the old school Azir builds now. We're rushing Nashers, pumping out damage in the team fights to DPS, and I also really like the pairing that Azir has with Varus. I mean, if you interact within that range, you are going to get melted by these two ADs that are looking to DPS you down as Dardoch gets caught.
Oh, Dardoch's in a lot of trouble here. Gives a kill over to Toasty, and now Toasty has 2 kills on the Akali.
Well played by Chad. Finds the cancel into the wall. Picks up a kill on his old teammate, as of course he did help Mirage Alliance qualify for Challengers League this past summer in that jungle position, and does give them a small angle onto the Dragon.
That's the funniest thing, is we were talking a little bit about the roster swaps and some of those changes, right? Some of the different pieces, and there is a big one in Chad who's now chasing down Prism. Well, another little bit of a swap-a-rooney as he went to the ADC position. Toasty's in trouble now. Dardoch want a little bit of revenge, and chomp goes the Trundle.
I don't know exactly what happened there, but yet again, Toasty's low and 3 people are mid.
Dude, it's literally on every minute. It feels like Will is just checking in on RJS like, bro, you good?
Yeah.
You all right?
RGS, he is the CEO of this team, you know. He stepped on in. He is just... everything goes through the CEO mid, you know.
It's got to. I still remember at World's Champs Q, all the posts for him. He was facing Faker on like one of the first days. It's always great. The guy's got a good head on his shoulders. I'm really happy to see him here with Mirage Alliance. And now pretty in good position on the Azir. We do see a couple of those plates also going the way of Mirage Alliance, at least Fear on the bottom side, while will be taking the grubbies.
Yeah, the strength of Fear so far in this game is going to have to be through that Senna Kench, who are going the double support item. You know, part of me, Mizel, doesn't really want to talk about this because it is so flippin' disgusting. But we're going to have to a little bit, as Senna did just evolve the first part of that. So, of course, new support items are very strong. They give very powerful effects. As okay, we're going to get into look mid.
Yeah, take a look at the... yeah, he just tried to get over the wall.
I mean, that's nice. I'm more so curious about what happened to Toasty on the back half. So, okay, here we go. Fast forward. Thank you to our observing team for helping us with this one, as Toasty takes the trade. Oh, I mean, that was nice. That was nice from Toasty.
Little dicey.
Just not enough gas in the tank to make sure that that's a solo kill.
That is the unfortunate part. I do like the committal here because it was very close to making it away there, but Will making sure to shut it down, and now back on the map, looking back at mid lane, which has been the center of attention for both teams so far. We will see that focus back there. We did see a dragon started up, but not finished, so it must have been a little bit of pressure down there.
Oh, I like the fact that you bring that up, Mizel. I think that it was started, but Chad wanted to force the bot lane out so that the plates could go to the Senna Kench, but that does mean that it wasn't traded out with the grubs that we have been seeing quite a bit in this early season. So the Kevins went over to Will for free, and now that he has a chance to take the dragon as he's working his way towards the bot side.
And so far, Will has had a pretty good control of the jungle, and that's another big focus that we had kind of alluded to earlier, is how these two junglers are going to match up, right? Chad is very vocal, very aggressive, where I feel like Will, he's more buttoned down. I want to show the work a lot of times. Yeah, he could get a little bit chirpy sometimes, but I really love that we get these kind of aggressive stancing junglers as the first matchup of the year for these guys, because, again, we would not see this jungle matchup until the postseason if we were to see it again.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the many changes that we have to Challengers League, is that single round robin of the double. And yeah, I mean, it is kind of fun seeing, you know, given how much these teams have in common between the player swaps and, you know, the Chad, of course, you know, helping this team qualify. Is kind of a fun early season matchup, but we'll see what these teams can have in the tank later. As we have a move being played here on the Dardoch as Lens.
I love the new angle on this bottom lane for blue
really?
side.
I
it's
hate
so
it.
good. No, for red side, I hate it. If you red side, it's the
so
worst.
Good. It's too good.
It is. I love it. If you're on blue side, at least. We still have not had big objective focus yet. Yes, we had those grubbies taken earlier, but we haven't had any dragon focus for either side, and that's just because of the amount of either lane pressure we've had from both junglers or the chaos we've had around Chad and Will going at it and invades.
I would love to see Mirage Alliance think about this, because Will did finish that Titanic Hydra. Very powerful on the Trundle. The Poppy's still pretty strong right now, and okay, here we go.
Oh, but they're going for bot lane. Dapson got a big pick, though. Prismal going to be locked down. Not enough damage to follow it up, though, and that's the problem with this trio down here. You do not have the damage yet. Lens is still stacking up.
Yeah, but that is a great chunk, and it will force Prismal back, and the issue is that there is no mid priority. Like, there's no priority anywhere else. Udyr still has that free shove on the top side, and given all the time, focus, and attention that Mirage Alliance gave RJS earlier in the game, he's opened up a pretty nice lead against the Sakali, so unless kills go over to Cincy Fear, that dragon can't really be taken. Calculated.
I like the Talia thumbs up with the wide eyes. It's like, close. Not going to be enough, though. RJS did complete his Nashor's too, so we do have first items coming online for majority of members now, at least for Mirage Alliance's side. The Blade of the Rune King now also completed for Prism.
Yeah, that item, of course, having some changes this new season. The first attack, you know, is a slow. It's pretty nice, or a movement speed buff. Sorry, pretty nice. But we're still getting used to some of the new items here. You know, I streamed a lot of CQ to make sure that I did my research, but maybe led to less playing, which for my old man hands is best as now. Speaking of old man hands, Alarm under pressure.
He's just gonna have to run out here. Able to do so. He is the Udyr. A nice little pillar of filth comes out. Toasty, he's going for it. Top side, there's not a 2v2 there, and Toasty backed off in the mid lane. So everything calming down a little bit while tensions were getting high.
So RJS did flash. I can see that cooldown being down on his screen over here. So that is something that at least Toasty was able to pick that up.
All right, I got a real question for you since we got grubbies being taken yet again. Josh was calling the Little Mites Twitch chatters yesterday. Are we sold on that? Is that what we're going with? I feel like we could do like Jerry. I know you were talking about LCK had some different names.
They're the Kevins.
The Kevins. Okay.
We have
Are the little ones also the Kevins?
We got Flowers with Ed and Eddie. I don't know about the little ones. The Kevins are kind of fun. I will say that I think that, you know, this is where I wish I had some... Oh, that's fine. Hold on.
Oh,
Toasty.
well, Toasty's going to be safe. At least he is the Ecology. You can continue, Sindits, my good gentleman.
All right, flash for flash. That's worth it for Mirage Alliance, as looks like they picked up enough grubs to at least... looks like they got 4. They could go back there to get more, but just only going to take this bot tower. Dragon could be theirs too. I mean, this game's looking pretty doomed for Fear, as you can take a look. Plates being taken. All right.
Somewhere, plates are taken.
Plates taken. Yeah.
There were plates taken. I can promise you that. The dragon does finally get attention. I was thinking that maybe this dragon was just going to be lonely for all of its life. It is 15 minutes in, and Will has finally taken the first dragon, but they're already so far ahead that the control is due.
Yeah, I mean, like, for Cincy Fear, I think that their savior has to be the sideline here, Mazel. Like, get that. They do have the Son of Kench mid, and they were putting the Akali in the side, but RJS is so far ahead. I mean, I'm kind of curious, like, can he just 1v2 and kill all the creeps on his own in that mid lane? Like, I don't know the answer to that, you know? And I think that as long as they have Udyr match the Akali, there isn't really a play on the map right now for Fear.
Do you still feel like the Fear team composition when it comes to fighting, if Lens can get a little bit further ahead, does still have some bonuses to it when we're getting to these later objectives? We talked a lot about their composition. I know they're down. It's only 3.5 though.
No, it's a lot. It's really bad, Mazel. It's kind of doomed.
Do you not see any saving grace in their kind of holistic team composition as a 5v5?
No.
Okay, well, all right. I tried, chat. Yeah. I tried. Alorum is just trying to run down Toasty, but he might have bitten off a little bit more than he could chew. Does decide to pop the ghost and run away.
I mean, like, the DPS that Azir and Varus can put down, it's too much. Like,
the fact that they're both attack speed.
Yeah, like, the saving grace is Akali finding, like, skirmishes in the side lane, or it's angles like this, and Prismal's way too far up.
Donning Shadow with the snipe across the board there. Shut down, going over to Lens, too.
Well done from Philip. I mean, waiting in the brush. I mean, that's something where Prismal didn't see it coming, and Prismal gets punished for it appropriately.
Now, I'll just say, yesterday, there were some games that were looking a little downer at the beginning, and then we ended up having bangs. So I'm hoping.
That's true. I mean, yeah, if anyone missed yesterday, by the way, Wildcard versus TL, the team that was down 4-16-1. I don't know if that's good, Mazel, but it was entertaining for sure.
It was entertaining as all be out.
Personally, I avoid using the word good there. But it was fun, you know?
Is banger appropriate? Is that okay?
Sure.
Do we use that too much? Okay.
I mean, it was a good old, like, salt. It was
Barn
like literally.
burner.
No, it was like.
Hootenanny.
Like, Wildcard, like, their comp needed the group, and they were down, and they said, screw this, and they kept on walking mid like a salty stack, and they ended up winning the game in the Salt League. That was it. That's my summary of that game.
All right. Welcome to the Salt League. How tough are you?
Yeah, pretty much. At the moment, for Gerald, not looking too tough as Trundle, Varus ripping through this one, and Mirage Alliance continue to cruise, building up a nice lead. They got the late game insurance, and they're champs, and things are looking good for the experienced squad that we have in Challengers League.
And that's what I wanted to bring up as well. We talked a little bit about it earlier, but it's kind of interesting that Mirage Alliance have kind of brought the old guard back, right? You alluded to it at the beginning of draft, but it's like players that have played in Challenger Series before in the history, and I think it's so cool to see the comeback, but also the come up of a lot of these guys. And yes, there's a lot of switch ups to the roster at the last second, but the communication is looking pretty on point, and I think that comes from the veterancy that is present.
I think it also comes from the fact that their jungler had 3 camps before the enemy jungler had 1. And that made this game a lot easier for the team that you needed to break the game early. It's like, all right, we just get to lean on Azir Varus laning, send everyone mid to help the Azir. It's a nice lead being cracked open.
I'm saying, Cubby, there's a Storm Surge on one team. There's not a Storm Surge on the other team. And I think that's the biggest difference, all right?
You know what? You might be onto something there, Mr. That might be the tech for Fear to come back.
My champs Q games are paying off.
Can we go Lightning Boom on Mirage Alliance? We'll have to see.
If there's somebody that could do it, it will be Toasty Alex. I think that the story of Toasty's come up this year, the fact that he's on the Fear roster is just really cool, right? We got to see a big come up from him in the EG combine that we had in the offseason. He actually got to come in person as well, which was super cool. But getting that experience and bringing that into a season, that just feels like the momentum is all in Toasty's court.
I mean, he's someone that, like, went from OQs, like, but behind the scenes, like, he was someone that was in consideration for other positions, like, besides just the Fear mid lane spot, and kind of, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, because that would do a disservice to how well that he was playing the combines and tryouts, but because of his performance there versus his performance elsewhere, he did kind of come out of nowhere, and it's definitely something that we have our eye out for this season for being a promising up-and-coming player.
Very exciting, but now he's going to have to find a way to be a big impact in this game as we got Will driving the car here. You gotta watch out. Oh, he ran into the pole. But that's what you want to do because all the little mites come out. Chain of Corruption does not connect, but the tower will fall in the end. Yep. And Will's going right back in the driver's seat. Here we go, round 2. He's going to be charging right into the inhib turret, doing half health, and now it is Fear wanting to try to stop any further pushes.
Wow, that was pretty good driving there from Will. Fortunately, if you guys are just tuning in the Challengers League, the minimum age to compete, I believe, is 16. So everyone has their license here, or at least is old enough to have their license.
We're good drivers here.
We got some decent drivers.
Double Lip yesterday said he can't drive, so, he did say he could drive.
Honestly, that's like the most gamer thing ever, to just not
really
be able to drive. Oh no, really I can't drive. I gotta stay in.
Hey, it's a good excuse in the end.
It's
Chad
not,
will be
but,
it's not. Chad will be taking the Void Scuttle. I do want to talk a little bit about that. There are some differences between some of these monsters as we get further into the game. The Scuttle Crab will reveal all the wards in a certain area as well. We have the red buff and blue buff that get shared across the team.
Hold on. Mazel, I haven't heard this yet. I get to say this on broadcast, and I can claim it for my own.
Let's do it.
This is where I wish my brand was bigger, so I could have the poll that Flowers does calling the Grub Mites Ed and Eddie. But what I'm calling the new red buff, blue buff after Baron spawns is that everyone, it's just, you get Oprah. Everyone gets one.
Okay.
Everyone gets a red
Oprah
buff.
Meme to pop up on the screen while it happens too. Every
Even
single
the support
time.
counts.
All right, production, get it rolling. Let's see.
You get Oprah. Yeah.
It is interesting though. That's some of the changes coming in, but as well as not only that, it's like a lot of that map contest does get a little bit easier. You get a lot more pressure when everybody's got a red buff on the map. But the big thing now looking forward for me, we're post 20 minutes. We have the Baron up on the map. Mirage Alliance destroy Baron. So you always have to be on your toes for Fear.
So new season, talking with some of the teams, they are a little bit scared to start Baron around 20 minutes because it's too healthy. As RJS will find Toasty lying in wait. You are correct. If anyone could start Baron then, it might be this comp if someone thought Chad.
You got to keep the verdict there. Daption going to save Lens over the side. Chad might have just given his life there, though. Will not able to chase down in Lens with the nice save.
Do we start Baron off this? Yeah.
I mean, they got 2 items on both their attack speed carries. Like,
yeah, here we go. Rage Blade Varus, baby.
Doesn't matter how tanky you are, Baron, you will still fall post 20 minutes. You got the TP coming in. This is a contest from Fear. and I love
boy.
it. Make or break moment. It's 1,000. No, it's going to Will. And Mirage Alliance here to answer with Phil on the back line. Has a big flank. That's not a big Emperor's Divide. Toasty getting locked down here as well. This is a contested fight for Mirage Alliance. Focus down the right members, and everyone from Fear is now dashing away. Chad in some trouble. Will is walking at him, and he flashes for it. We said he gets all those kills last split, and it doesn't look like he's changed at all. The man is coming for the heads of the NACL.
Nice connection there from Dardoch. Gonna clean up Daption as well. And Mazel, you know, it was a small Emperor's Divide. We might have got tricked at the start, but I think the gold lead ended up cashing in the end. Mirage Alliance wiped the fight. Now they get to wipe all the structures off the map. That's 2 structures falling, 2 inners down now onto the inhibitor turrets. And man, this game went from bad to worse for Cincy Fear. That level 1 did not go their way, and it feels like they never really got a foothold in this one.
And I love it as well because Will is a guy who's very headstrong. He believes in himself. He believes in what he's doing. And he's very, very aggressive. But when you get to hear some of the moments in the offseason, but you get to see moments like this where he's able to pull it off beautifully, and the team coming around him as well, it works so well.
Yeah, man, you just got to play Trumbull. You just Q and right-click. It's great. Meanwhile, Philip, honestly, props to Philip. He did have a pretty decent angle there, but it really was a Lorem. You know, I did mention in Champ Select, like, hey, if Senna goes to the lethality, like, you can never, ever get through the Udyr. And guess what? Senna went lethality, and Lorem just casually, you know, held Senna Kench back, distracted a third, and enabled RJS and Prismal to clean up that the flankers that were coming in.
Oh, he's coming for it again.
Uh-oh.
He's already used it. Alorum's now walking at him with the ghost, and my goodness, here we go. Philip's got another flank. Philip's big this time around. Toasty gets a shutdown, and that's all you needed, Fear. You just needed the angle. And to take down Prismal, Alorum is still very big. He is untouched, and RJS is still popping him. It doesn't matter. In a 4v3, Toasty gets one more, but RJS is literally just standing still and eviscerating them. The Dawning Shadow's not enough, and a triple kill goes to the General of the mid lane. Alorum trying to take down Toasty here. He's very, very tanky, and it's a Quadra. Give him the Penta. Give him the Penta, please.
Oh my god, Faker's back in Challengers League, man. RJS in a 3v5. They burned everything to take down Prismal, but this Azir was the focus early for Mirage Alliance, and RJS cashes it out tenfold here at the end. He's pumping, man.
The amount of ganks that Will dropped in mid lane has made this so. This has been destiny, it feels like, from like the 5-minute mark in the game.
I mean, again, Azir, if you play within his range, he does so much damage with the build this season. One of the many reasons that we're seeing Azir still be at the top of the list in priority for a lot of these teams as RJS in the back half. Holy cow, man. He played that fight really well. That E on the lens, too, to get the shield and be in range to attack him. I thought he was going to go down there, but RJS plays that fantastically. Gets some fleet procs, get himself back, and now look at that. He's got a hat and a book. He's ready to just vacation for the rest of this one.
He really is. He's got 10 pages there.
Hit the beach,
stopping off at the library, too. Yeah, RJS has been really good. It's facilitated a lot by this mid-jungle duo that we said was going to be so pivotal in this best of.
So the TP from RJS puts him a little bit in the Narnia, and I think the Mirage Alliance pushed a little bit too hard. They don't have the Azir again. All you have to do is just fight with the 5-stack. There is no way that Fear can beat you at this point of the game, but RJS was on bot lane. Toasty and Philip, again, have pretty nice angles, so props to them. I think Philip's taken 2 really nice angles these last 2 fights, so it's a good start, but RJS cleaned everyone up, and we don't even have time for that because Mirage Alliance, the siege is unrelenting.
Yeah, and all Will has to do is hit one big pillar of filth. He does do it there, but Blend gets almost 2-shot by RJS. I think Mirage Alliance need to be a little bit more careful here, though, but they do want to continue putting the pressure on. Their super minions coming down as well, and we'll see if they can continue pushing this pace. Yeah, it's literally one auto attack does that.
New season, new map, same as Azir. he's still a bit of a problem as this one should wrap up. Okay.
Dardoch gets launched away there. The engage still goes through him. Emperor's Divide, Dawning Shadow on top of it. Toasty can't get in. He's still going down. Chad getting low. Philip is the first to fall here. He goes down. RJS is dominating. The last Nexus turret falls, and Mirage Alliance will easily clean up game number 1 of this best of 3.
Yeah, welcome back to Challengers League, man. It's fun seeing Alorum, Dardoch, RGS with a pop off that game. I think that Mirage Alliance.
Give my boy Will some credit, man.
Dude, he's playing Trundle, man. He went mid as Trundle. He played well. He did his job. But we're playing Trundle too, you know.
I'm just saying, this is the first ever spring split that we've had Will, and we gotta do it up.
I'm excited for that.
We gotta do it up, all right? Literally, this man has only come in summer every other year. Yeah. But it was an incredible game number one for Mirage Alliance. I think here we're struggling to find a way in, especially with the prevalence of ganks that were so consistently done early on by Will in mid lane. RJS Will looking like a good combo. We'll see if Fear can bounce back in game number 2. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the 2024 spring split of the LCS Challengers League. This spring will feature 10 teams competing in a single round-robin best-of-3 format, and for the first time ever, we'll be implementing Fearless Drafts. If you're not familiar, Fearless Draft adds a new twist to pick and ban. Once a champion is picked by a team in the series, it cannot be picked by them again. So if Team A drafts Teemo in Game 1, they cannot play Teemo for the rest of the series. Team B could pick Teemo in Game 2, but then wouldn't be able to play him in Game 3. And like LCS, all games will be played on the live patch, so you can take what you see from the games and try them out on your own. The top 8 teams from our regular season advance to the NACL playoffs, which will feature a double elimination bracket with a mix of best-of-3 and best-of-5 matches. Alongside the NACL are 2 qualifier tournaments, which will also feature Fearless Drafts on the live patch. The bottom 2 teams from the NACL regular season will compete against the top 4 teams from the qualifiers in a promotion tournament, battling in a double elimination bracket to qualify into the NACL in summer 2024. All LCS Challengers League games and coverage will be available on twitch.tv/LCS_challengers, with matches starting right after the LCS. And as a reminder, with team revenue shares, every sub in Twitch Prime directly supports the teams and players. Another split of Challengers League begins right now, and we can't wait to see you there.
Bye.